Hi, it's Scarlet.
And I'm HeavenLeigh. And I'm going to be telling you about Sylvia Likens, the murder of Sylvia Likens. Mm-hmm. So in Indianapolis in 1965, Sylvia Likens and her sister Jenny were left in the care of Gertrude Basinski, who had 7 children of her own. Jenny and her sister Sylvia were left with Gertrude because her parents were carnies and they traveled and they needed someone to watch her children, watch their children. So Gertrude agreed to watch them, and she watched them for a while. And then one day, a couple of weeks later, the $20 payment came a couple of days late. So Jenny and Sylvia were sent upstairs, and Gertrude beat them so hard their bottoms bruised.
Oh my god.
And that was the very first time Sylvia was ever beaten. After that, they were kind of like starving because they were very poor. There was 11 people living in that house and running only on like $40 a week, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
In the 60s. That's pretty
poor.
Yeah.
That's pretty poor.
So they were eating soup and sandwiches, and so they were all slowly starving. So they were all very, very thin. And so upon their arrival, the 2 girls, Sylvia and Jenny, were very, I guess, privileged, but not really because their parents were carnies. But
more privileged than
yeah. So they were talking back to Sylvia was talking back to Gertrude, and so that got her some harsh treatments. After they were beaten, Sylvia took more of the beating than Jenny. Mm-hmm. Not really sure. It doesn't really say why. It's just, I guess she was the oldest.
Yeah, they were just beaten.
Yeah. It says the Basinski children were encouraged to assault Sylvia any chance that they got. The friends were also invited to their house to beat on Sylvia as well. When the foster mom invited them, they often used Sylvia as a punching bag. Children practiced their jiu-jitsu on Sylvia as well. They threw her down the stairs. They choked her, pushed her against the walls, beat her head in. Paula was Sylvia's actual best friend before they started living together. They went to the same high school and everything. They were best friends, and that's how they actually became notified that Gertrude would let Sylvia and her sister stay there. Yeah. So Paula was very, very drunk one night, and she hit Sylvia in the face so hard that it broke her own hand.
That must have hurt so much.
Yeah. Can you imagine breaking all your whole freaking hand from punching someone in the face?
I don't want to imagine that.
And then after it was casted up, she continued to beat Sylvia with her casted hand.
What the hell? What's going on in this house?
Often the neighbors who visited Sylvia witnessed Sylvia being beaten, and they saw the bruises and the batterings all over her skin. But Paula, anytime that anyone would say anything, Paula would be like, no, she did it to her, this is what she gets because she was bad, or didn't make payment, something like that.
That's crazy.
So after a while, Paula got pregnant by a married man and blamed it on Sylvia. Not blamed the pregnancy, but was like, no, Sylvia is the one that's pregnant, not me.
Okay.
She was in denial. In denial is a good word. And so she was deemed a whore to the house, a prostitute, that she was selling herself pretty much. So then after that, Sylvia was forced to dance naked and perform lewd acts in front of the neighbors and stuff like that. At one point, she was told to insert a soda bottle into her genitalia. On at least 2 different occasions. By the end of it, when the coroner evaluated her body, he said that, and I quote, Sylvia's crotch and genital area was stumped and kicked so often and so viciously that hardened medical examiners were later shocked by the number of injuries in that region, end quote.
Oh my god, no.
And I was reading up on this case earlier today, and I read somewhere that it was beaten so bad that it looked like raw hamburger meat.
Ew. No. That's horrible.
So, these kind of beatings, made it hard for her to control her bladder and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. So when she went to bed, she wet the bed a lot, which made, it was embarrassing, but it made Gertrude be like,
mad.
You do not deserve to live amongst normal people.
Oh my God.
And so...
They degraded her, basically.
Yeah.
That's awful.
And then they beat her for, wetting the bed. They threw her down the stairs some more. The use of toilet was denied to her by her accusers, and they often threw her into a bathtub full of scalding hot water.
Oh, no thanks.
A dim-witted neighbor. Yeah, really, she did. Poor girl. So the dim-witted neighbor boy, Rick Hobbs, was directed to heat needles and use them to brand the girl's stomach with the words, "I am a prostitute and proud." Gertrude started the lettering and ordered Hobbs to finish. This horrible torture completed Gertrude's release in the full fiendish fury of her nature, beating the girl, slamming her head against the basement wall with such force that Sylvia Likens received the injuries that ultimately extinguished her life. So basically, being hit in the head so hard killed her.
She was literally beaten to death.
Yeah.
Living in hell.
Yeah. Not content with just physical torture, Gertrude taunted Sylvia, telling her that she'd never be able to marry because of the words on her body. Sylvia was made to write a letter to her parents, which confessed to sharing sexual favors with a gang of boys and blamed all her wounds, burns, and hideous message on her flesh upon these non-existent individuals. So basically, Gertrude developed this whole plan and was trying to literally get away with murder. Yeah. So one day she was found dead in her basement room downstairs on her mattress. She had died in her sleep. They drug her up the stairs, put her in the bathtub, and called the police and were like, "We found Sylvia in the bathtub. She died, and we found this note that Gertrude had."
Oh my God.
And so...
Did they get away with it?
No. When the police came, when the people to, examine everyone and get their stories, all the kids were like, "No, she did it. She did it herself. She was a horrible girl. She was messing around with all these boys," basically feeding the same story that Gertrude had said back to them. But when Ginny, quietly under her breath, said, and I quote, "Get me out of here and I'll tell you the whole story." So Ginny told the story, and Gertrude was sent to jail for life.
Yeah, good.
It said, "The lawyers skillfully laid most of the blame upon Gertrude, though the children who helped torture and kill Sylvia Likens were given incredibly short sentences. They gave her the life sentence or the death sentence, because she was the only real true adult that was involved." In 1985, amidst much public protest, she was released upon parole. For 5 years, she lived quietly under an assumed name before dying of lung cancer. And then later, a book was developed from this case called The Girl Next Door, and it was put on the big screen in 2007.
I saw the movie. And
yeah.
It's so good, but it's so sad.
Yeah.
It mentally drains you.
Yeah, so that was the adaptation, but there's there's a movie called An American Crime, and it is the Sylvia Likens case. And that, when I first watched that movie, I cried for 2 days.
Yeah, it just... It fucks with your mind.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And the fact that it was children beating her as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They literally thought they were going to get away with murder. And that's all I have.
Thanks for listening.